guys, I'm Dr. Dustin. Nice to be with you guys today. Today what I'm going to do is a topic on shoes and shoe structure and how that can affect your feet and your overall health and well-being. So first off, I want to talk to you about your feet. I have a model of a foot right here. And so as you can see, the foot has three arches in it. The first one is the medial arch. So if you look at the foot this way, the medial arch that goes along the big toe, the lateral arch which goes along the little toes, and then the transverse arch which goes across the foot this way. And so the reason why our feet are so important is because they put a lot of neurological input into our brain. So as we're taking steps walking, that neurological input goes into the brain. Our brain processes that information and tells our postural muscles or certain muscles to move so we remain balanced. And so if you think about it, we're a two-legged human being, and if we walked on pogo sticks like this, we have to maintain this weight above our legs so we maintain balance. And so it's very important that our feet give proper signals into our brain, so that way our brain can process those signals and tell our body which muscles to turn on and which muscles to turn off. Also, another important part for the foot is that our foot absorbs shock. And so with those arches that I just mentioned, as you can see, the foot should have a slight arch to it. And so as we walk, that means the foot can absorb those shocks. Now, if we have a flat foot, then that body can absorb those shocks. And you can see how that can affect the foot and how the foot functions. But more importantly, if the foot cannot absorb shock, that means those shocks go to the knees, the hips, and then the low back. And so as a chiropractor, we see a lot of patients with low back issues, knee issues, ankle pain, and things of that sort. So it's very important to look into the feet as well. So for the first one, I want to talk to you about shoe structure. And so with shoe structure, people usually have two different types of feet. So if you look at the bottom of your foot, and you go from the bottom to the top of your foot, it'll either be straight or at least be slightly curved, with the big toe pointing inward. Now some of you will have a big toe pointing outward, but most people will either be straight or pointing inward. And so based on that, you want to get a shoe that matches it. So if you have feet that are straight, you want to get a shoe that is more straight and midline. And so what do I mean by that is when you look at the shoe, if you look at the bottom of the shoe, you see how this one curves in just slightly. So it curves in slightly. Now a straight shoe would be a little bit more straighter as far as from the back of the heel to the toes. And so you can look at your shoe at the bottom and look at your feet. And so you want those two to match. The second point I have is the bend point of the shoe. And so depending on where the shoe bends, so look at your foot, and when you walk, it should bend at the first toe, right? And so the shoe, if you take the shoe and grab 2 points, the bend part should be where the big toe bends in the shoe. So that way the function of the shoe will match in the function of your foot. And if it doesn't, that means the shoe is going to cause dysfunction in your foot because you're walking where the foot doesn't bend. And so that'll affect the biomechanics of the feet. The second point I have is stable heel. So what I mean by that is that the structure of the back of the shoe can help stabilize the heel. And so it should be somewhat vertical. So if you look at the shoe like this part should be stable and should be able to support the back of the heel. If it's not and it's very flimsy, then that won't help support the foot as far as athletic performance and everyday walking. The fourth one is no rocking. And what no rocking is when you put the shoe, so if you take the heel part of the shoe and you put it on a flat surface, you shouldn't be able to push it so that way it rocks back and forth really easy. It should be pretty flat back here. So something to also look at is the back part of your shoe, right where your heels are. If your shoes aren't wearing evenly, then that means that one foot is walking differently than the other foot over periods of time, just like the tires in your car. If the tires on your car aren't aligned, that means that the tires will wear funny. And so your shoes are the same way. You wear your shoes every day. And so if they are wearing different, that means you could have misalignments in your spine, causing one leg to either stride shorter than the other, one leg to toe out or toe in compared to the other, and so that can affect the heel of your shoe, which is essentially the tires on your car. So for a lot of people, some people may have, if you're wearing shoes that immobilize your feet a lot, you may have weak feet, and as a result have dysfunction in your feet. And so not too many doctors will tell you to go to the beach and walk in the sand, but walking in the sand is actually one of the best exercises for strengthening the muscles that are in the foot and on the bottom of the foot. Because walking in the sand, if any of you guys have tried running in the sand or walking in the sand, you know it takes a lot of extra energy to walk in the sand. That's because you're using different muscles of the feet. Another one is called short foot exercise. What that is you take a towel and you try to scrunch it up with your big toes. So you're keeping your foot flat on the ground and you're trying to just move the big toes to help scrunch up that towel. And it's the same idea as walking in the sand. It's just, if you don't have a beach nearby, you don't have like a sandy shore to walk on, that's something that you can do at home. One last thing to keep in mind, which most people know, is that when you're buying a shoe, you want to make sure that you don't cram the toes in the shoe. I know a lot of athletes and soccer players like to get cleats that are very tight to their feet because they think they can feel the ball better. That may or may not be true, but something to keep in mind is if you're wearing a shoe that's cramming these toes together, that's going to affect the metatarsal joints. And so that's going to affect the big toe, these joints, and that's going to cram those together. And you have a lot of nerves in the feet right there, and sometimes people get like Morton's neuroma and things of that sort. And so it's important that you have a little bit of space between the tip of the shoe and your big toe, and the rest of the other toes as well, so that way your foot has plenty of room to move around in. Now, some of you guys may have a bunion on your toe, which would be the big toe. And so what that is usually the toe curves in like that. And so when you have a collapsed arch in your foot, that can cause the toe to turn out, so it go towards your little toes. And then you get a bunion. You get a bunion on that toe. That often occurs when the arch collapses. And so you can see how important the arch of the feet are for the rest of the body. Also, somebody that has a lot of ankle sprains, or they've had a lot of injuries, either playing basketball, soccer, those are usually the two main sports that people have a lot of ankle sprains, is that you cause ligament laxity in the foot, and so the foot becomes unstable, and when the foot becomes unstable and the arch starts to collapse, then the tibia has to take up some of that slack. And so if we throw a tibia, which would be your shin bone on top, if this arch collapsed, the tibia has to rotate. And so when the tibia rotates, that puts extra stress on your ACL. And so that will lead into a further discussion of how ACL injuries can be present. But chronic ankle instability can affect the ACL, and it'll make you more prone to tearing your ACL. Well, I hope you guys found this video valuable. There's a lot to talk about the feet, and hopefully there's more to come. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope you had some take-home points that you can use while buying a shoe.